I think I can confidently say that we literally have the healthiest chili rasboras in the aquarium industry. So we're gonna do a tour today of the Dan's Fish warehouse, show you some amazing fish that we have. We're gonna start with these chili rasboras, and then I'm gonna take you around and show you some other fish that I think would make great companions for a tank of chili rasboras. I'm really proud of this group of chili rasboras. They're fat, they're sassy. None of the fish that I'm gonna show you today have eaten yet today. They last ate yesterday. So the main thing I wanna show you on these is look at how fat and sassy they are. They aren't pinch bellied, and they've got good weight. They have good body condition, what I call head fat, which is the fatty deposits and muscles up around the head. If you look at that, you can tell pretty easily if a fish is underweight or not. But they're doing awesome. And we're gonna feed these today along with the other fish we're gonna show you. Here's our feeding arsenal. We have the Easy Community Floating Pellets from Aquarium Co-op. We have the Magic Small Fish Feed from Aquarium Co-op. That's what we're gonna start with today with these chili rasboras. And then we have some Extreme Monster Pellets. You can also get these from Aquarium Co-op. So different, really small pellets, well, mini pellets, tiny pellets, small pellets, and a large pellet. And we like to feed pellet foods when we can, just because they make a lot less mess. In this Magic Small Fish Feed that I'm gonna put in here, the reason I like it is it's tiny. It's almost like a powder, which means these guys can ingest it really easily. So in their natural environment, they're gonna be going around and picking out little tiny food particles from the water, little tiny critters. And this mimics that. So as you can see, they go right to it. This is just like a natural thing. It cues their natural instincts for feeding. In feeding this, we also feed some baby brine shrimp. We can get them nice and in good condition. The reason I love chili rasboras is because they're a true nanofish. They are small, and yet they're brightly colored and very, very peaceful. So they make an excellent tank for, an excellent fish for a nano tank, or as I like to do, a big group in a larger tank. When these guys really color up and school in together and develop their nice intense reds, there's a couple in here starting to get the red, that guy and a few others. It's gonna take a little more time, but they will get this really nice red on them. I just think they're stunning in a big group. The other thing I really like about them, as I mentioned a little bit before, is their attitude. These are completely peaceful. These are not gonna harm any other fish. They're not gonna threaten anything. They are some of the most peaceful fish out there. In fact, they don't really even bother each other. Occasionally two males will square off and spar, but in general, they're just happy to hang out together. So I like that attitude. It makes them really easy to keep with other species of fish because they're not gonna harm anything. In fact, something you need to be careful of with these species is the reverse of that. It's more likely that other fish will harm these guys. They're good eaters, but they're not food aggressive. So if you keep them with other fish that are really food aggressive, it can be a problem. These guys might not get enough nutrition. So I'll show you some species I think that they do well with in a minute. But I think you can see on camera, the reason this food's so awesome is see how it's kind of these tiny little pellets. Let me see if I can show you this. Are just floating around in the water column. They're basically mimicking baby brine shrimp. And the chili rasboras are just so drawn to that. In fact, a lot of small fish are drawn to that. Many fish, 2 inches and under. This is what they would eat in nature. Just these tiny little things that they can find. And it doesn't strain their digestive system. If I fed these guys like bloodworms, a bloodworm is as big as they are. And sure, they can eat it, but that's like a snake trying to swallow, that's like an anaconda trying to swallow a crocodile. Like, it's just a massive food item for them. And it's a lot for their digestive system. It's like you trying to swallow a whole steak. It might not go well. So that's why I love these tiny little foods. It makes it a lot easier to get them in good condition, get body weight on them. Usually what I do is I give them some small food and then I'll put in a pellet so that once they're done eating the small food, they can nosh on that pellet kind of for the rest of the day. And then in the evening, I'll come by, and if there's any pellet left, I'll take it out, and I'll probably feed them some more small foods. So that's, you know, that kind of constant grazing really helps them get fat and sassy, because that's what they do in nature. They're eating small bits all day long. Well, I want to talk about the parameters too. These come from blackwater habitats, but they don't need that to thrive in an aquarium. Our water here is very hard. It's 8.3. The mineral content's very hard. pH is very high. Hard alkaline water. And as long as they are taken care of correctly, they usually do really well. Now, I don't want to claim we never have problems. Every now and then we have a group that doesn't do well. I'd say right now we're at about 85% success, and it's getting better all the time. We have consulted with aquatic veterinarians from Utah, one from Colorado. We've consulted with a professor of veterinary medicine at Texas A&M University. Our own lab here at Dan's Fish has worked on this extensively, a lot of research, a lot of testing, and we've also worked with the state diagnostic lab. And so I think I can confidently say that we literally have the healthiest chili rasboras in the aquarium industry, because there's no one else out there. I'm confident I can say that. I can't know for sure, but I'm 99.999 etc% sure. So we're still working on it. We're at about, I don't know, 85%, maybe 90% success now. We've had several batches that were very successful. We had one recently that wasn't, but something that happened during transportation, I think, that was stressful for them. But yeah, chili rasboras, super healthy, and they just make amazing aquarium fish. And I'm just gonna say, I think we have the healthiest ones in the world. I think that's true. Okay, now let's show you some fish that would make good companions for these guys. We'll start down here. We're gonna go that way. These are albino Pygmy Corys. This is a first for me. I've never seen this fish before. It was the first time we've ever got them. And so far, from everything I've seen, they seem like they act and are just as hardy and healthy and everything as your standard Pygmy Corys, just in an albino version. So something neat, something new. And so if you put these in with chili rasboras, which they would go amazingly with, what you would have is chili rasboras kind of in the middle of the water column, and then these guys on the bottom. All right, this has some animals in it that I think would make ideal tank mates for chili rasboras, but it's not the fish. It's not the one you think. It's these shrimp in here. Let's give them some food and then we'll talk about them. So these ones I'm feeding the community floating pellet. Sorry, I'm one-handed here, so it's gonna look weird for a second. Okay, got it in there. So these are the Sulawesi red line shrimp. Now, I don't know why they call them that. I don't think they're particularly red. They're a neat wild type shrimp. They have a neat like tiger stripe pattern on them, but I wouldn't call that red necessarily. But they would make a great companion for chili rasboras. I probably would not put the endlers in there. These are some Santa Maria endlers, because they're so boisterous. I think they might bother chili rasboras, and they're a little bit food aggressive as well. But these shrimp, I think, are an excellent choice. Kind of tiger stripe. They do have red feelers or antennae or whatever you call those. I don't know what the official name is. And they reproduce in here like crazy. They're easy to breed. They don't need special water parameters. Most of the United States has hard alkaline water, and these would do just fine in high pH alkaline water. That's the shrimp from the Sulawesi lakes prefer that. They're not like the bee shrimp or the other Caridina species. They are a Caridina genus, but unlike the bee shrimp or the crystal shrimp that come from, need softer water and stuff, these guys love hard alkaline water. And if you're in the United States, that's probably what you have coming out of your aquarium, or I'm sorry, out of your tap at your house. So they do great in it. The reason I like feeding these the Aquarium Co-op floating community pellet is because it distributes out through the moss there. See how there's little bits all throughout the moss? And so the shrimp can feed, they can go find this in the moss and not have to get into a mosh pit. If you just feed one large pellet or larger pellets and the food's so concentrated in one area, what I find is that shrimp, you get this massive mob all competing for the food, and the weaker ones don't get as much food. Ever since I started feeding these smaller pellets from the Aquarium Co-op, my shrimp populations have absolutely boomed. And I think it's just because smaller shrimp are able to get to the food and aren't as outcompeted by the big adults. So the populations grow. Even with the endlers in here, these guys are reproducing and doing well, just because, you know, there's all that food and all that Java moss for the babies to hide in. So I think these shrimp would make a great companion. The other reason I think these are good is their color is more subtle. You could do like a bright yellow or bright red or orange or, you know, one of those neon colored Skittles shrimp. But I think that they might distract from the chili Rasboras. And so that's why I'd go with something like a wild type shrimp like these. Down below here is another fish that I think would do really well. And this is one you don't see very often. It's a Pygmy Loach. Now, any Pygmy Loach species I think would make a great companion for chili Rasboras. This is a special one. This is the Pangio species Pan02, P-A-N-O-2. They have a brown back and a silver or gold belly. They're like, wait a minute, there's a camera there. There's a camera, guys, look out. But anyway, any of the Pygmy Loaches are gonna have small enough mouths, they're not going to bother, here's some more. They're not gonna bother your chili Rasboras. And they don't get big enough to be a threat. And they kind of hang out on the bottom mostly. So they're not gonna bother the chili Rasboras. What I'm feeding these is, I like to feed these sinking pellets. So I like feeding them the monster pellets from Extreme. And as you can see in there, there's also Stardust Pleco. Just one in there poking out to eat. Plecos would be fine too. Any of the Ancestris species would be okay. And every time I move the camera, they go away. I'm just gonna go back here. So anyway, neat species of Pygmy Loach, the Pangio species Pan02. You could do common Pygmy Loaches, you could do giant Pygmy Loaches, you could do silvers, you could do blacks, you could do all of them. I really think they'd be great. And so good companions for chili Rasboras right here. Here's another fish that I think would make a great companion for chili Rasboras. There are two species of Stiphodon gobies in here. There's the aureofuscus, which is this one with kind of the more distinct brown patterning on the body. And then next to them are the dwarf gold neon gobies. Any Stiphodon species would make a great companion for your chili Rasboras. They're gonna, oh, look at this male. He's nicely colored up there. He found the food. He found that extreme monster pellet and he's gonna defend it. Yeah. It's kind of fun when you put the pellets in. You can also feed the community pellets and stuff like that. But it's kind of fun when you feed large pellets to these guys because they'll color up and they will compete for the pellet. But the Stiphodon gobies are peaceful. They graze on biofilm and algae in nature, so they don't have big predatory mouths. I would not keep these with a Sicyopus or Sicyopterus species or something like that, some of the more predatory gobies, but these guys, not a problem at all. They're gonna stick to surfaces. They're more benthic, so they'll cling to the sides of the glass, they'll cling to decorations and stuff like that. Cory's on the bottom. These guys will kind of climb around and stick to stuff. Chili Rasboras mid-water. I think that would be a really neat combination. Okay, these are the marbled hatchetfish from Rio Nanay. We get these out of Peru. And these eat the floating community pellet from Aquarium Co-op really well. It's the right size for them. It floats pretty well. And then it slowly sinks And as it does, the ones, see all these guys that are hanging out mid-water, those guys will pick it up. Now, the thing with hatchetfish is they won't really eat food off the bottom. So with our hatchetfish, we like to keep a few mystery snails. These are the blue mystery snails. They're mostly a white color on the shell, but there's a blue tinge to it. It's a very light blue tinge. So if you buy a blue mystery snail, just be aware of that. It's not like a robin's egg blue. But the main thing in this tank is these hatchetfish, which are doing amazing. They've been healthy for us. They've been doing just great. So why would I put these in a tank with chili rasboras? Well, they have small enough mouths that they're not going to bother the chili rasboras. In fact, a full-size bloodworm is difficult for these guys to eat sometimes. You have to feed them the smaller bloodworms. So they don't have a big enough mouth to harm them, and they tend to stick up to the top like this. Now, sometimes the water flow is such that a group will hang out down lower, but you can adjust the water flow and pretty much get them all to stick at the surface. Now here's another shrimp that I think would go well with chili rasboras. I think a blue shrimp would do well. They're not so neon glowy colored that they would distract too much from the other members of the aquarium. And when those chili rasboras color up and they get that nice red, for me, I'd want them to be the focus. So I would probably avoid the bright yellows, bright orange shrimp and go with a natural colored species like those ones I showed you before, or something like this, which is kind of a deeper color. I think the blue would look good in there, and you've already got the red from the chilies, so I think this is something that would complement that rather than competing with it, if that makes sense. So our blue Neocaridina shrimp, they come from a really, really dark blue onto a pretty light blue and everything in between, but they're all nice blue color. So here's a good sampling of that. Now here's another snail that I think would make a great companion with chili rasboras. It's the zebra Nerite snail. They don't get as big as a mystery snail. A giant mystery snail is not going to bother a chili rasbora. It's not going to be a threat to it or anything, but it's massive. So if you want something that isn't as big, these zebra Nerite snails are smaller and they have that neat zebra pattern on them, pleasing to look at. And they eat algae like nobody's business. These are great algae eaters. And they don't reproduce in the aquarium. They'll lay these little white eggs, but those can't grow up to maturity without salt water. So the Nerite snails, any species pretty much of Nerite snail, would be a good option. So this is funny. I don't know if you can see it, but see these little white dots? Those are the eggs. So another snail laid eggs on that snail. I don't know if that snail should feel insulted or not, but that's what happened. These I've also found on the snails. I like to feed smaller foods. I usually feed the floating community pellet from Aquarium Co-op, which I know is weird because snails are bottom feeders. So why would you feed a floating food? Well, because it sinks after a little while, and then you get a nice distribution across the bottom of the tank, and the snails don't have to compete so much to get food. So I find it really useful for shrimp and snails. Now this just might be the ultimate companion for chili rasboras. These are sparkling gouramis, and they're small, they're totally peaceful, they don't mob the food like some fish will, so they don't outcompete chili rasboras for food. I'm gonna give them some of the magic small fish food here, and I can tell I'm freaking them out a little bit with the camera, so I'm not sure if they're gonna eat or not. Oh, they will, look. This is one of their favorite foods. It's small, and these guys have small mouths, so it's really easy for them to eat it. I've been loving these foods. The fish seem to take to them, and they seem to not be challenging for them to eat. Like they're the right size, I guess. So besides being small and peaceful, sparkling gouramis have a really nice beauty to them. It's a subtle beauty, but if you've ever seen one that's fully colored up and that's kind of big and mature, you'll know what I'm talking about. They get some really nice lace patterns in the fins, like filigree, just really intricate details on them, which is this delicate, subtle beauty, but if you look at them, you'll just see these amazing patterns on their fins and on their body. So I think that they're one of the most underrated fish out there, one of the most peaceful, beautiful little nanofish, and can't think of a better companion, I don't think, for chili rasboras. So here is another fish that would make an ideal companion for chili rasboras. This might be the prettiest of all Stiphodon gobies. In fact, when these are fully colored up, they might be the prettiest fish in the entire world. This is Stiphodon annieae. They are absolutely stunning. Blues and reds and delicate patterns. Just the prettiest fish in the world when they fire up. There's a couple in there that are fired up a little bit. They get even better than that, but there's a couple there that are showing you kind of what they look like when they really go. Oh, there's a couple males. Oh, come on, keep doing it. Hopefully I caught that on camera. A couple males displaying right there. Anyway, just as hardy and peaceful and easy to keep as any other Stiphodon goby, but with such beautiful coloration and patterns that they blow my mind every time I see them. Now, something about their tank is, you'll see we have some algae growing in the tank, and we want that. Stiphodon annieae graze on biofilms and algae, and you don't want to put a fish like this in a new tank. You want to put this in a mature tank that has, biofilm and algae growing on it, because they're going to eat that. If you put them in a brand new tank, they'll probably be okay, but they won't have the stuff to kind of snack on between meals that they would in a nice mature tank. So I would encourage anyone thinking about getting Stiphodon to treat them kind of like autosynclus. You wouldn't get autosynclus in a brand new tank, right? You'd wait till there was some algae and the tank was mature and settled before you put them in there. Same with these guys. But if you do have a tank like that, then these would make great companions for chili rasboras in that kind of tank. They stay small too. These are about full grown, 1¼ inches on the bigger ones. They might get 1½ inches, some of them, the absolutely biggest ones, but they stay fairly small for a Stiphodon goby. Anyways, I think these are an ideal companion, and I think the coloration is just amazing. Now, not everybody likes albino fish, so we showed you the albino Pygmy Corys. These are the normal Pygmy Corys. They're also a great fish. They'd make a wonderful companion for chili rasboras as well. So, if you don't like the whitish fish with reddish eyes, those freak you out. I get it. They're not for everybody. They come in a regular as well, and these guys are just as cool, just as peaceful, just as big of a clown when they get together and start playing around as the albino version. Same thing, just different color. So anyway, Pygmy Corys, excellent companions for pretty much any small, peaceful fish of an appropriate size. Okay, I don't think you could go wrong with these either. Hillstream loaches are awesome. They're just, what else looks like this? Nature's suction cup, a miniature stingray, a little UFO. Like, what else does this? They're just such amazing fish. And the Hillstream loaches would make great companions for chili rasboras. They aren't really predatory. They're another fish that scrapes algae and biofilms for a living. That's how they get their nutrition. They're going to cling to surfaces and just kind of hang out. So they're a lot bigger than a chili rasbora. These are the reticulated Hillstream loach. There's many kinds of Hillstream loaches. They get a lot bigger, but they're not going to eat them. They're not going to see the chili rasboras as food. What they will see as food is an extreme monster pellet. They're easy to feed. They'll eat dry prepared foods without any problem. But these guys will also gang around, they'll clown around, they'll spar. There's a lot of activity, and just look at the intricacy of that pattern. So I can't think of any Hillstream loach that I don't think would be a good companion to chili rasboras. Even though they get a lot bigger, I don't think they're going to try to eat them. I just think they'll get along just fine. And since they cling to surfaces like gobies, they're not going to compete for the same niche or the same space. So I think these would be awesome looking in any aquarium, but especially with chili rasboras. Now, similar to them is another species of loach that's a Hillstream type loach. These are Panda Loaches, and they're a ton of fun. They get their name from that white and black coloration. Some of them are banded, some of them are striped. All of them are beautiful. They don't get nearly as big as the reticulated Hillstream loaches. These are going to top out at, oh, I don't know, 2 inches would be giant on these guys, I think. So they don't get very big, totally peaceful. Pretty much act the same as reticulated Hillstream loaches, just a different size, different color and pattern, and kind of a different body shape. They're a lot longer and tubular, I suppose, than the flat of a reticulated Hillstream loach. But these would do great. Look at them go. They love that food. They're very excited to get fed. So to end this video, we'll check back in on these chili Rasboras. I'm sneaking up slowly to try not to disturb them. Looks like they've eaten pretty much all of the magic small fish feed and are now all ganged up around that pellet, noshing on that. And they'll do that. They'll just go around there and take little mouthfuls, nip a piece, swim away, eat it, come back, and they'll do that all day long. And that's how we get them, what I like to call nice and fat and sassy. So if you want the world's healthiest chili Rasboras, then we've got them available here at dansfish.com along with the other fish we showed you. We have 478 aquariums full of fish, snails, shrimp, that kind of thing. So feel free to look around, see if anything strikes your fancy. Anyway, until next time, I hope you have a great one. We'll see you in about 2 weeks. Bye-bye.